Hey y'all, this is Brett, and today I want to talk about how we can alkalize our bodies more. And people need to do that because they are too acidic, obviously. And the reasons they are too acidic is because of their lifestyles, the foods they eat, their mindsets, and a lot of environmental factors. And, for the most part, all of the things that you see that I teach on my videos are going to instigate a more alkaline condition in your body and mind. And that is because I mostly teach very yin things. Okay, so we've all heard of yin and yang. And if you hear some noise in the background, that's the guys working on the roof. They're putting a new roof on this house. Now, yin and yang. In our society, it's for the most part yang or yang, if you will. And that is indicative of aggressive things, hot things, things that are fast, things that are male, colors that are like bright, like red and orange things are more yang or aggressive. And that's how people are in this country and in most countries around the world, The whole world is becoming more gentle and easy and relaxed, etc. They need to anyway. Some places are not. But so any kind of an activity that you do that is mellow is going to make you more that way. And if you surround yourself with people that are that way, then that's what they're going to influence you to be. And so, also, as far as diet is concerned, then the less meat that you eat, then the less acid your stomach's going to have to produce to digest it, and then you don't have to get all that acid in your body, And so, all the foods that are very acidic are meat, grains, except for millet. Millet is the only grain, and I believe this to be true, that is an alkalizing grain, at least slightly alkalizing. And so, that's why we're not really supposed to consume that much grains. And I know that in the food pyramid, they say that you're supposed to consume 3 to 5 portions of grains. I don't believe that that is true. I believe that we're supposed to consume less. And they probably recommend that for, varying reasons, like people need to, they've got their lifestyles into this way of go, 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 go. And so in order to go, 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 you need a lot of carbohydrates. And, in an ideal world, we're not supposed to be like overachievers as we are so much. And it's really totally paralleling how people are stressed. All of this coincides with each other. Do you see where I'm going with all of this? People aren't supposed to work so that they can buy more things. Materialism. They're supposed to read and enjoy art and music and get up and stretch in the morning. And each day they're supposed to do some work for the rest of humanity and the world, but not 8 hours a day. That's part of the problem here, When you have to work that much hours, then you have to consume a diet that's too aggressive, too acidifying. And so the foods that are alkalizing are, especially alkalizing, are green foods and some yellow foods. Yellow is mellow. And, mostly vegetables. Some fruits, but mostly vegetables are alkalizing. And especially in the northern hemisphere, the diet needs to consist mostly of vegetables. And the vegetables that are in the highest quantity are green vegetables, leafy greens. And those are especially what are going to give us a lot of calcium that is very alkalizing. Also, potassium is very alkalizing, and you can get a lot of that in fruits. But the protein foods are more acid forming. And so beans and grains, the power foods and the build-up foods are more acid forming. And so we need to only consume smaller quantities of those. It's not natural to consume crap loads of nuts and seeds. You can see that, right? Because nature doesn't produce those in a very high volume. And that's another thing to really think about. Like, does nature produce this particular food in a large quantity? Or does it take a lot of resources to produce this particular type of food, like animal foods, for instance? There was a time when people, when they were traveling across this country and they needed food, but they didn't have time to stop and plant foods because they were moving west. They were pioneers. And so what could they eat? Well, they could kill deer and they could eat them. Or rabbits, various animals. And that's what they did to survive. But we don't have to live by those rules anymore. We can stop and we can plant quinoa and it'll grow 6 feet high, and that'll give us all the protein that we need. Quinoa is supposed to be actually a whole protein in that it has all the amino acids that we as our bodies cannot produce. And for pets, a food that's really, really awesome and full of protein as a substitute for meat is buckwheat. Now check out some videos on YouTube in regards to how much protein is in buckwheat. Really excellent, and how much buckwheat can be grown in an acre. A lot. So pound for pound, buckwheat is just a great alternative to meat. But bear in mind, if you have an acidic problem, then buckwheat is not a great idea. Millet is a lot better. Buckwheat, I've found, is really kind of acidifying, so you don't want to consume a whole lot of it. So think about lifestyle and calming down, and if you find yourself going too fast, then that's a sign that you need to really start breathing and slowing down, because that whole speed thing is so important in regards to controlling our acid alkaline balance, which needs to be around 7.0. And if you have any doubts about all this, you can get yourself some of those little pH papers. They come in a roll for about $10, I believe. And you just wet your saliva. You can also use urine to test. You can also test your urine. And I don't remember the specifics about how to do that, but you can test your saliva, and it's best to test it in the morning. And you can also test. The reason it's best to test it in the morning is because you haven't eaten, and that's going to give you a better idea. The longer that you go without eating, the more the pH test, it's going to give you a better idea on how good of reserves you have, how good of electrolyte reserves that you've got in your body, because the more you pee, the more you lose, and the more you sweat, the more you breathe, the more you lose the minerals that are in your body. And so if you test it after a day or two of not eating, then that gives you a better idea on how deep your reserves are. And so, I found that the reason that people need the dairy is so that they can replenish their body's alkalinity, like your calcium. There's a lot of calcium in dairy, and the dairy is also a buffer food. The more you eat these heavy mucus forming foods like dairy and flour foods and also nuts and seeds, especially like almonds, are very mucus forming. The more it buffers that acid alkaline effect in your body and slows down your metabolism. And you have to understand all of these things by experimenting and noticing your body's excretions and smells, etc. And that gives you a better idea on how everything works. And you see, I've been doing this for such a long time and I've been just I'm so analytical that I very much understand how it works. And let's see, where was I going with that? Maybe I'll just end the video here because I'm running out of current brain info. But the less that you eat of the acid forming foods and the more that you eat of the alkalizing green foods, then over time, don't expect this to happen just fast, like within a couple of weeks or even a month or sometimes even a year. You know, you'll see the change happening over time. That's why I tell you that word is so, it's almost in every video. Time, and the way I say it, over a long freaking time, you'll notice changes. It's evolution, and it happens over a long period of time. So thank you for joining me. Have patience and know that this is a lifelong journey. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.